Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Very Cold Lasagna Podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Lasagna, bringing you all the filthy casual takes on the world of sports for you sports fans out there like you and me. This is episode number 331, and in this episode, the dust is settled. It's time to talk about some pro wrestling. What exactly in pro wrestling? Well, it is a pay-per-view that happened this past weekend overseas and from the WWE, and that is the Royal Rumble. Another edition of the Royal Rumble, and no, not the one that happened in the past episode. This is the most recent Royal Rumble pay-per-view, the 39th annual, the 2026 edition of the WWE Royal Rumble. This one was overseas, and the certain relationship that both the WWE and the IWC have with a certain country, which we'll talk about in just a bit. But yeah, this kickstarted the official road to WrestleMania 42 as, we're here that fast in WrestleMania season. Like, it's been like that quick. I guess that's how invested in quotations that I've been as a wrestling fan nowadays. But yeah, regardless of how I feel about wrestling nowadays, you know, the Royal Rumble is still an event to tune into, whether you're a filthy casual or a hardcore fan, because you never know what's going to happen with these kind of things, regardless of how crappily booked it is. But that's what we're here to talk about. That's what I'm here to give you my filthy casual review on. And yeah, that being said, let's get started. For all, whether you're listening to this on audio or watching this on YouTube. So the 2026 Royal Rumble. This was first announced on January 6th, 2025, last year on the premiere episode of Raw on Netflix. WWE and TKO first announced the 39th annual Royal Rumble that was going to take place this past weekend on January 31st, 2026. And they announced this alongside, you know who, Saudi Arabia's General Entertainment Authority Chairman, Turki Lasigi. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that name correctly. But nonetheless, it was going to take place in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, during this point in time, during their Riyadh season, which, for those that are in the know, it consists of several entertainment, cultural, and sporting events from October to March. So around this time, this event in Riyadh would take place in the Kingdom Abdul Financial District in what ended up being a dedicated stadium specifically built for the Royal Rumble. So it was a 25,000 seat stadium, and this was built in the span of around a month or so. So this was completed just in time, like barely just in time, before the SmackDown, before the Royal Rumble, like a week or two before it. So that's crazy. Like, really building a stadium from the ground up just for this event. And who knows, maybe they might be using it for next year when they go to Saudi Arabia for, you know, the big event that they're having, which is WrestleMania 43. Or maybe they're just they might use it for the other two pay-per-views that they're going to have this year. So when it comes to the Royal Rumble, they actually did a Royal Rumble back in 2018, but technically that doesn't really count. That's was called the Greatest Royal Rumble, which was WWE's first ever pay-per-view in partnership with Saudi Arabia, which featured a 50-man Royal Rumble for the namesake trophy and title, which was the Greatest Royal Rumble trophy and title. Yeah, you remember the green title that Braun Strowman won in the end, and technically is the still longest reigning Greatest Royal Rumble pay-per-view champion in history. He's still the longest reigning overall champion in WWE history, by the way. But anyway, when it came to the specific Royal Rumble, this was the first tried and true Royal Rumble event, like traditional Rumble event, to feature the traditional matches in the first traditional one to take place outside of the United States. And yeah, of course, it happens to be in Saudi Arabia, but that's besides the point. So obviously the signature matches were the 30-person Royal Rumble matches for both the men and the women. And for those of you that are not in the know and missed out on my previous episode with the 2006 Royal Rumble retro review, side promotion, please check that out after this episode, after you're done listening to that episode, this episode, sorry, words. So anyway, the Royal Rumble match, if you're not in the know, it's a battle royale, is a staggered battle royale where wrestlers entered at timed intervals, normally 60 to 90 seconds. And the last person standing, they win a world title match of their choice at WrestleMania. Don't let the commentators or the ring announcer fool you that they're getting a world main event match, a main event headlining match at WrestleMania. That's not always the case, but for some reason they still do that anyway. So the men had the option of either going for the WWE or World Heavyweight Championship, while the women had the option of the Women's World or the WWE Women's title for this one. Given that this year they were going to Saudi Arabia for the Royal Rumble, you can only pray to God that the women would survive an enduring hour plus in Go Power Ranger suits. I was wondering going into this, who's going to form the Megazord? Who's going to form the, that whole Megazord formation, the Dinozord, what was it? The Wild Force Megazord, or the Thundersaurus Megazord, the SPD Megazord. What's another good Megazord? The Astro Megaship. What kind of Megazords were going to be formed in the Women's Royal Rumble? Oh my God! Like the Women's Royal Rumble match in Saudi Arabia was already becoming a meme prior to this. But anyway, going into this year's Royal Rumble match as well, like for both of them, there wasn't a lot of build up because, like WWE and Triple H, they just totally forgot. They just totally forgot, and they just remembered 2 weeks prior that there were Royal Rumble matches, and they decided to, you know what? Let's have you people start announcing yourselves for this match. So the lack of a build up created, I give it this. It creates more unpredictability around a winner for both matches, as long as the result is correct, though, and a story was there. At the same time, though, Triple H, he may as well not announce them at all, given that, well, he had to, he just announced, have them announce people in 2 weeks in advance, because we already know, more than half of the roster was going to be in it. So why even have them announce it anyway? And I also mentioned this in my retro review of the 2006 Royal Rumble. Bring back qualifying matches in the Royal Rumble. But then again, it gets my point of not even announcing or naming the participants at all, because again, more than half of the roster is going to be in it. And then one last thing I want to point out going into this, whoever were going to be the runner-ups, the unfortunate runner-ups for this Rumble matches, they were going to have another chance of winning the Elimination Chamber, because Triple H has no creative bone in his body, and he decided to make the Elimination Chamber matches next month a number one contenders one again for both the men and the women. I don't know why he wants to make the Elimination Chamber matches a stupid Pro Bowl consolation award. He literally likes to make it the Pro Bowl games now, or the NBA All-Star game. He's kind of devaluing the purpose of the Royal Rumble and the prize that goes towards it. It's one thing when Vince McMahon booked a number one contenders Elimination Chamber match, because he did it very rarely. Now Triple H is here, let's make it an annual thing. No, put the world title matches inside the chamber, because when Vince did that, there was another point in time where Triple H kind of did that too with the United States Championship. It made it feel like, oh, you have one last obstacle if you wanted to go into WrestleMania as champion, and that's the Elimination Chamber. That was the deadliest obstacle left for you to have before you go into your another big challenge at Mania. But no, just have the champion sit back, relax, and not go into what previously was Saint structure, which is now a McDonald's structure. But yeah, that's my aside. That's my my pre-event notes. A little bit of background ramble. But yeah, let's get into the match card, shall we? And as has been in the last couple of Rumble matches, Rumble events in the last couple of years, it all started off with the Women's Royal Rumble match, the 2026 Women's Royal Rumble match. As we talked about these two Royal Rumble matches, I'm not going to talk about every little thing that happened, just my personal highlights, like, who came in, who got eliminated, and then my personal opinions at the end. Because if I talk about every single little thing that happened in this Royal Rumble match and the next one, we're going to be here forever. We're going to be here forever. So, in a surprising twist to start this Women's Royal Rumble match, the quote-unquote allies of convenience, that's what they called themselves, Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, they started things out at 1 and 2. That put a little stunner in Charlotte's face, but, after little teases of, facing each other, trying to eliminate each other, they were like, nah, let's keep it cool. Let's put our little friendship is betrayal eventuality for later on. So they both kept things cool to start out as they waited for their next victim. Later on, you had Nia Jax enter at number 4, but the Riyadh crowd was not having it with her, as they should. They greeted her with loud jeers, "You can't wrestle, you suck" chants. Anytime they could get the possibility to boo Nia Jax. I mean, I guess that's something. Lola Vice from NXT and AAA, WWE's Mexican sister company, came out at number 6, and this is probably where she had the most visible Power Ranger suit very early on. And yeah, she looked pretty impressive here. Kicking, striking, and dancing in this Rumble match. So I like Lola Vice. And she's a pretty balanced out wrestler. I'll say that. Jordynne Grace, a very recent call up from NXT. She came in at number 8, and she had also been recently confronting and maybe teasing a feud with WWE Women's Champion Jade Cargill, who I really would like for her to have that title defended at some point. I don't know what Triple H is doing, but anyway, she eliminated. She went on a elimination flurry, eliminating Candice LeRae, Lola Vice, and Ivy Nile. Poor Lola. And then you get it. The first interesting moment of the match, like soon after, Charlotte and Alexa, they teamed up to eliminate Nia Jax, but during that elimination, Charlotte also accidentally eliminated Alexa when Charlotte hit the big boot on Jax. And then as Jax was hitting the floor, Bliss lost her grip on Nia when Bliss was pulling Nia to the floor, or like she also got clocked by Charlotte. I don't know. But either way, Charlotte inadvertently knocked off her ally of convenience, and that's going to continue to stir the pot of who's going to betray who eventually, or maybe they won't. But it's going to be another eventual will she or won't she kind of thing between Charlotte and Alexa. And it's kind of a shame too, because, Charlotte and Alexa have been doing pretty good stuff together. And, it's kind of salvaged ironically, what Charlotte has badly been doing from last year, from that Rumble win up to that early post-Mania stretch. Anyway, we had Sol Ruca from NXT enter at number 10, and she came out to a rousing ovation, like a loud ovation from the Riyadh crowd. And honestly, I wish I'd seen more of her work. I know I've heard of Sol Ruca, and she really came out to play in this Rumble match. Like, she started out with an impressive springboard 360 clothesline, and like she was all over the place in this Rumble match. Like, I kid you not. We're gonna keep talking about Sol Ruca in this match because, man, she was lights out from the start. So she had plenty of moments in this match. Roxanne Perez, the runner-up in last year's Rumble, she came out at number 11, and she had this jumpsuit that looked like what's her name from Kim Possible? Shigo, yeah, the main villain from Kim Possible. So that was something. And then as we got through the quarterway point of this match, I was wondering about how many seconds it was going to take for each woman to come out, because given that there could be a botch with some of these eliminations, because how sweaty, how hot it can be in those suits, and how sweaty the hands can be, and I don't know if how the weather was in Saudi, but regardless if they had heaters on or like the AC on in that canopy, it could be slippery. It could be slippery. And there were moments where I was like, oh boy, I hope they don't fuck these spots up, because, the ring was starting to look slippery for some points. But yeah, I was wondering if some of these, if the entry points were 60 seconds or the normal 90 seconds. I think it had to been 60 seconds just to save their livelihoods in the Saudi weather. But back to the highlights. Becky Lynch came in, I think it was number 12 or 13. She was eliminated by Natalia. No, Becky Lynch came in at number 14, I believe. She came after Natalia. She came after Natalia, and then she got eliminated by Natalia, who beforehand eliminated Maxine Dupree. But yeah, Becky Lynch getting eliminated that early on by Natalia was surprising. That was very surprising. Like, Becky Lynch, she was in there, I think, number 12. I think it was number 12. I don't know what the order number was, but her getting eliminated that fast was very, very surprising. I thought she would last much longer than that. So then we had Liv Morgan, who many in the IWC predicted was the favorite to win. They were hopping all over the hashtag Live for the Rumble train. Whether I was going to hop on that prior to this Rumble, I was skeptical. Let's just leave it at that. She entered at number 14, and she came out to a very loud ovation from the Saudi fans, just showing that, Liv is their Saudi queen. So she came out to a loud standing ovation, and following suit was Raquel Rodriguez, her Judgment Day teammate, who, by the way, had another women's world title match against Stephanie Vakir this coming Monday in a Philly street fight. And she entered a couple entries later at number 17 to complete the Judgment Day trio alongside Roxanne and Liv in the Rumble match, as they ganged up on everybody. Chelsea Green entered at number 18 as we pledged allegiance to the green. Asuka, a couple entries later, the first ever Women's Rumble winner in 2018, entered at number 21 as she, Io, and Giulia, the Women's United States Champion, got into this brief Japanese love fest that didn't really entice the Saudi fans, but I'm pretty sure it did entice the IWC. Rhea Ripley, the 2023 Rumble winner, at number 1. She entered this time around at number 23 in her first Royal Rumble match since then. The Saudi fans gave her the biggest pop of the night in terms of this Rumble match, and apparently in a minute into her entry afterwards, it didn't take her long to get a red nose. So Rhea, the red-nosed reindeer, came out, and she also eliminated Chelsea Green, unfortunately, and Roxanne Perez. So yeah, the Judgment Day field went down to 2. The NXT Women's Champion and the leader of Fatal Influence, Jacy Jayne, that stable, she entered at number 24. She made her main roster debut. And I'm a little surprised that Jacy Jayne hasn't been on the main roster yet. Like, like, what's taking her so long to call her up on a full-time basis alongside Fallon Henley? Like, what's taking like they're both main roster ready. Like, what's taking them? Like, the women's division could use some help. So we got Liv's first elimination. She eliminated Natalya with an Oblivion, like a variation of her Oblivion finisher. While she was inside the ring, she used the Oblivion to send Natalya off the apron. So that was a cool spot. Nikki Bella entered at number 25 to a very loud pop, and she had a stare off with Liv in a callback to their untapped feud that would have happened in June of last year, but unfortunately Liv got hurt. And then in a probably one of, if not the only big surprise of this match, Brie Bella was the first of two final entries in this match. Brie Bella, Nikki's sister, finally came back to the WWE after how many years has she been gone? Like, man, I feel old. I don't think I've seen Brie Bella in a hot minute. And then for the last entry, I thought it was going to be a certain someone else, but no, it's not. It's Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany Stratton, good to have her back. She made her return as the final entrant after losing the women's title to Jade in November and then having some time off, returning from a knee injury. So yeah, she's back, and that completed the field. She made an immediate impact by swanton bombing onto everybody and throwing it back with her Mania 41 opponent, Charlotte. And yeah, by that point, Charlotte had been in there for nearly an hour as we started to get into eliminations. And there was also a time where the crowd was flashing the fireflies and chanting a bunch of random things. I mean, honestly, I couldn't blame them because there really wasn't a lot happening during this women's Royal Rumble match. So yeah, I really couldn't blame them on that one. So like I said, the eliminations started to happen as Tiffany was the final entrant. The Bellas used their twin magic flips to eliminate Lyra, Valkyria, and Bayley. But unfortunately, they couldn't double team Lash Legend, who I really liked in this match. Lash Legend was a standout in NXT when she had her stable disband because they all got released. But Lash Legend, who had been teaming with Nia Jax on the main roster, she was a badass dominant force. She overpowered the Bella Twins to eliminate them both. And then from there, she went on an absolute tear, eliminating Charlotte, eliminating Io Sky with not just her power, but her instincts as well. So Lash Legend was a badass in this one. But unfortunately, she got into it with Rhea and Raquel, showcasing her power, but she was eliminated by Rhea. But this is a very good showing by Lash Legend. I think from what I saw in an article recapping the show, she's as young as Rhea. So she's got a bright future ahead of her. So right after, Rhea was eliminated by Raquel, and this is where things got really started to pick up. In probably the most interesting twist of the match, Liv Morgan eliminated her Judgment Day partner right after, and the plot thickens, pal, in that Judgment Day clubhouse. Yeah, it's about time it did. So that left the final three to a nerve-wracking pulse in my soul. Something. Cody Rhodes. And yeah, that final three was Liv, Tiffany, and Sol Ruka, who, surprisingly made it to that point. And like I said, it was a tense final three. And yeah, they fought hard. They fought to the very fast finish line. And it got to the point where we had the typical apron spot that we've seen in the last 2 of 3 women's Rumble matches. 2 of them involving Liv, by the way. Like, the last thing I needed. But in the end, however, God, this feels so proud to say, still got overzealous with the Soul Snatcher, trying to do a soul snatcher on the apron to Tiffany, but she paid for it with Tiffany pushing her off. I don't know why Soul even tried that in the first place when there's like literally no room to land. But anyway, logic aside, Tiffany pushed her off, and then we got the big picture finish. Liv vultured for the picking with the big time oblivion, eliminating Tiffany Stratton. And ladies and gentlemen, Liv Squad, Liv fans all over the world, we finally got to hear the words that have eluded her for 3 long years, whether it be in January, February, whatever it may be, from 2023 to 2025. We have finally can hear those words. Ladies and gentlemen, here is your winner of the Women's Royal Rumble, Liv Morgan. That is right. That is right. I've had chills. This was my like when Liv when Liv was like the last person standing. That I had chills. I burst out in joy. I was this close. I was this close to. I don't know. I can't. I'm afraid to admit tears. That was as if my San Francisco 49, like in another reality, if my 49ers had won a Super Bowl in this day and age, if they had won the Super Bowl 2 years ago, that was my Super Bowl. Like that. Well, kind of. But this was Liv Morgan's NFC champion 2023 NFC championship. The job is not done. But this is the monkey that has finally off her back, and god damn it, she has finally done it. Noseman has finally given what she has earned. She's finally have taken it. God damn it, it's about time. No more runner-ups. Like, for fuck's sake. Thank God. And let's talk about the match, because I can go on and on and on about celebrating what Liv has earned all this time. The match, I gotta admit, it was just a stressful chore. It was a stressful chore to sit through because there's just so much filler. There's a lot of filler to get through. But even then, that filler, it was just kind of like it was still a tense build up. It was still a tense build up towards the finish line. Aside from the NXT talent though, like Sol Ruka, I think Sol Ruka was very impressive in this match, NXT talent wise. And the eliminations were spread out too far in between. So you're dragging things out too much. But again, the final finish was done pretty good, and the execution of the final 5 eliminations. So the finish line stretch, I really like that part. I was surprised though at the high end talent like Becky and Charlotte. They didn't even make it into the top 10. Rhea was surprisingly eliminated relatively early too. Like not even in the no, she was in the top 5. Io Sky didn't even make it to the top 10, I believe, because she was eliminated by Lash Legend, along with the lack of a few more surprises. Like, where was AJ Lee? Why was she there to eliminate Becky to extend their never-ending feud from September from WrestlePalooza? And yeah, it would have made more sense to eliminate Becky. Aren't they supposed to have a women's Intercontinental Championship match at WrestleMania? I don't know. But I will say on the flip side, the early exits were a great benefit to the younger talent in Lash Legend and Sol Ruka. They had a really good performance in this match, and they gave people reason like me, like a filthy casual that have barely checked out their work, to check it out. Check out the work prior to this. Despite the poor, slow flow in this match, I thought there were some nice story beats told that's going to set up the next couple weeks throughout the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view and eventually WrestleMania, as long as a proper follow-up to it, like the accidental Charlotte elimination on Alexa, the Bella Twins' potential reemergence in the tag team scene, dependent on if Brie is actually back on a semi-regular basis, and then Tiffany trying to find her way back to the women's title in Jade, because we don't know what's going on with Bianca Belair, because I thought she was going to pop up. I thought she was going to pop up in this match, making her big return from the finger injury, but no, and I'm surprised. Surprisingly, she didn't. So something is really going on. Maybe the finger injury is real. Like there's something more than something's going on with that finger injury, but hopefully everything is okay. And then obviously the big story in Liv Morgan eliminating Raquel and how that's going to affect the never-ending, not so soap opera Judgment Day story, which hopefully will finally come to a head. So for the time being, I can finally breathe. Liv fans can finally breathe that knowing Liv Morgan can finally call herself a Royal Rumble winner. After all this time, she's been in every single women's Royal Rumble match. She's been runner-up back-to-back in 2023 and 2024. And she was in the top 6 last year. And hey, 4 times the charm. Yeah, the 4th time is the charm. And Liv Morgan, congratulations on your Royal Rumble victory. You've more than earned this, girl. Now it's time for Triple H to finish the job and book her to win that title match in her first ever not just title match, her first real singles match at WrestleMania. Whether it's against Stephanie Vaquer or Raquel in Las Vegas in 2 months' time, she's got to be booked to win that thing. I mean, it's got to be the capper, right? That's got to be the cake, the capper to that cake. So, just my early opinion on this, the best option for Liv's WrestleMania opponent would be Raquel. It has the best story for her path to Mania. Like some people will complain about the match quality potential, and maybe but the storylines, the story elements going into that match will be something. Will keep people invested. That's the most important thing, the storyline, and that storyline will lead to once and for all the end of a group that people want gone for a while now, and that is the Judgment Day. So again, I can rave on and on about Liv Morgan finally winning a Royal Rumble, but we got 3 more matches that we got to talk about. And that is AJ Styles taking on the Ring General, Gunther, in a career-threatening match. After retiring John Cena a month ago in Saturday night's main event, which was John Cena's last match, many wrestlers took issue to Gunther constantly gloating about tapping out John Cena, which, by the way, I still have issue with. And one of those wrestlers was AJ Styles. 2.5 weeks ago on Raw, Styles tapped out Gunther with the calf crusher, but the ref didn't see it. And while Styles was confronting the referee in their match, Gunther low-blowed AJ and powerbombed him for a cheap win. The next week, Gunther refused a rematch with AJ, but would only accept on one condition. AJ would have to put his career on the line, to which AJ Styles later accepted with GM Adam Pearce, and that was official. So AJ Styles did previously mention in an interview or so last year of his intent to retire this year, and that he didn't want to wrestle past 50 years old, which, smart man. The 50 years old part, at least in my opinion. So with this match in particular, it was decent. It was a technical map-based wrestling for a lot of it. but it was one that Gunther was dominating a lot of. And when I mean dominating, he was very physical, very hard hitting throughout this match. But AJ wasn't going to go down easy because he managed to rally at varying points, especially at the midway, putting Gunther in the calf crusher twice, hitting the Styles Clash for a near fall. But unfortunately, in the end, Gunther was too physical for him with the flurry of chops and a hard-hitting clothesline that knocked AJ's lights out. And despite AJ's best attempts to fight out of it, Gunther eventually passed him out with the sleeper hold. And after all that, AJ Styles' 20-year-long plus career, quote unquote, per Michael Cole, faded to black. So I didn't really think that AJ's career was going to end right then and there. Like, no, not because of the location, but like this soon, early in the year. I thought there's going to be some fluky finish, or AJ was actually going to win clean, but no, it ended like right there. He probably chose to end it right there. Maybe Triple H's thoughts on the post show, his comments saying that AJ wanted to be done. He wanted to get it done then and there, so he can live on, live a post wrestling life right now. I don't know, but it was just a little surprising that he could have continued on at least until WrestleMania, where he could have had a few more final opponents before he hung it up, and then have a retirement match at Mania. But I guess he didn't want to have any risks on the way out before then. I don't know, close calls. I don't know, but hopefully, maybe regardless, if this really is the end of AJ Styles' career and not just pulling some Ric Flair, Adam Copeland kind of thing, where it's the end of his WWE career, so he can go to a TNA or an AEW or New Japan to wrestle again. So if this truly is the actual end of AJ Styles' wrestling career, then I just want to say thank you, AJ. Thank you, because I remember watching this guy growing up with TNA Impact, 2010 TNA Impact, when he was with the Fortune 4 with Beer Money and I think it was Christopher Daniels and Kazarian. Yeah, Frankie Kazarian. Yeah, and Ric Flair was still there too. I remember watching that AJ. He was pretty good in ring, but he still had some things to work on with his promos. And then when he got to WWE, he was on he got better in that department. So he started to become a complete balanced package there. And once he came over to WWE, and he had really good a really good quadrilly, I want a 4-match series with John Cena. Some really good stuff. So, like I said, the overall match with AJ and Gunther was decent. Again, most of it was mat-based wrestling. So, yeah, for Gunther, some still won't like the career killer gimmick that he's on, and some still find him boring, which I do at times. But, looking at it from an objective standpoint, it's clear that Triple H is trying to rebuild his character after the disaster year he had in 2025. And it's kind of working. I just think he needs to dominate more, like he did here against AJ, not having these 50-50 matches against bums on Raw. And he's got to wrestle, and he's got to wrestle more, and not just having a talking segment and most of the weeks leading up to a pay-per-view. So there's got to be more, and not just talking for the sake of talking, but talking with substance as he looks for his next victim to retire. So, yeah, I think as he's retiring these people, it's going to lead to another world championship like Chase. So, speaking of world champions, the next matchup was WWE champion Drew McIntyre taking on Sami Zayn. There wasn't really a lot of story behind this match. This was basically set up via tournament. So Drew McIntyre became WWE champion, taking the title from Cody Rhodes in a 3 stages of hell match in Germany 3 weeks ago, after several failed attempts, mind you, that started way back in September of last year. That same night, an 8-man 4-match number 1 contenders tournament was announced by general manager Nick Aldis, with the 4 winners competing in a 4-way match at Saturday night's main event in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. At the event, a week before the Royal Rumble, Sami Zayn beat Damian Priest, Trick Williams, and Randy Orton to earn this title match. So, yeah, that was basically your setup there, ladies and gentlemen. And yeah, this match and how it was booked, it was a reflection of that. The story, the quote unquote story, in the setup reflected how this match was booked. It was basically an extended squash match. Not so to the point of Brock Lesnar versus John Cena at SummerSlam 2014, but it kind of had a little bit of that feeling after Sami Zayn hurt his back on an over-the-top rope dive that he does. But yeah, after Sami Zayn dove onto Drew, but also hurt his back, Drew dominated from that point onward, targeting and Sammy's back and just simply toying with him. So yeah, it's just pretty much the Drew McIntyre show for like several minutes. Now you'd have moments where you would see he planted in your face into the fact that Sammy would, like, you think that Sammy would actually overcome the odds and beat Drew to win the WWE title with a Blue Thunder Bomb and a Haluva kick out of nowhere, but you didn't, because in the end, Drew powerbombed Sammy through the announce table and later hit 2 Claymore kicks in reversal of a Haluva kick to retain the WWE title. So, yeah, I mean, I don't really have much else to say about this world title match, because it's just pretty much Drew McIntyre whooping Sami Zayn's ass for most of it. It was like, and the crowd wasn't really all that into it, because you just had Liv Morgan win an emotionally right, Drew, like final stretch of a Royal Rumble, like the last several minutes of a women's Royal Rumble that was really good, and the fans really loved her seeing her win that Royal Rumble. AJ Styles just retired the match earlier, and the crowd was drained to see this match. So, and there wasn't a lot of setup for this world title match. But yeah, this was clearly the weakest match, and both the setup and the crowd interest showed that. But the more important thing for me, in my opinion, was Triple H and WWE, at least, they're finally seeing that Drew Mac can be taken seriously as a WWE champion as long as they keep retooling the man heading into WrestleMania season. So hopefully they continue to at least keep doing that for as incompetent as they are. And hopefully with this loss, which was Sammy's 12th straight to Drew, will also keep him further away from world title conversations, regardless of how the internet wrestling community wants him to have a world championship. No, thank you. So then we have our main event of this Royal Rumble pay-per-view. I mean, obviously it's called the Royal Rumble. So we opened the show with the Royal Rumble, and then we closed the show with the Royal Rumble. And that was the men's Royal Rumble match. Kind of like with the women's Royal Rumble match, there wasn't really one direct winner until you got to very close to the end with Liv. But with the men's, yeah, you really didn't know who was gonna win this match. Like prior to it, it was like a pretty wide open field. Like, again, they didn't do a lot to build up this any of these Royal Rumble matches. So as with the women's Royal Rumble match, I'm gonna go through my personal highlights, whether it be entries, eliminations, and then the winner and my opinions on this match. Obafemi, previously from NXT and hyped up for weeks in vignettes, and Braun Breaker, they started out this match. But before we can properly talk about the match, yeah, Obafemi being number 1 was and Braun Breaker being number 2 probably explained why Paul Heyman was pissed at Adam Pearce in the pre-show. But in real time, though, there was a kind of a reason for why Braun Breaker was number 2 instead of number 1, because I saw something on Twitter where, the WWE production team fucked up and leaked Braun's entry number, like the little like lower third bar that they used in the Rumble match. Braun Breaker was supposed to be number 1, and maybe Obafemi was supposed to be number 2. So they just switched it around, but it honestly didn't make much of a difference. But before the match could officially begin, and before Braun Breaker could enter the match, there was another typical black masked man. I mean, not like that way, but like black hooded guy attacking Braun Breaker, curb stomping Braun before throwing him to the wolf. That is Obafemi, and eliminated Braun Breaker. As the black hooded man ran off. Gee, I wonder who the black hooded man is. And can I just say this? Why is it always got to be the color black? Like all black. Can't they use like another color, like another discrete color, like gray or navy blue or like dark brown or like maroon? Why is it always got to be like why is it always black? Like what? Like why black? Like why black is the mystery man color gear to go with? But anyway, we had Rey Mysterio, the 2006 Royal Rumble winner from 20 years ago. He entered number 4, just 2 days removed from said 20-year anniversary of that Rumble win. Unfortunately, he didn't last long, though. That's unfortunate. And then Obafemi, he began to go on a tear by, like I said, eliminating Rey Mysterio, Solo Sikoa, Rusev, and Matt Cardona, a.k.a. Zack Ryder. And he was dominating the whole field very early on until he got slowed down by Damian Priest and Javon Evans from NXT and now on Raw. The flippy guy. Trick Williams came in at number 10 to a crowd that was ready to whoop that trick. Whoop that trick. As Trick, Javon, and Oba, they ran it back just like they did in NXT. Cody Rhodes, the two straight Royal Rumble winner in 2023 and 2024, he came in at number 11 and looked to be the second man next to Stone Cold Steve Austin to win it a third time and try to get back his WWE title from Drew McIntyre. And then we got some El Grande Americano on El Grande Americano violence, because we had El Grande Americano enter at number 12. Then all of a sudden, we got a second El Grande Americano, but it happened to be the OG El Grande Americano. What I mean OG? Chad Gable. Chad Gable apparently returned right after the new El Grande Americano, aka Ludwig Kaiser. So Chad Gable, the OG El Grande Americano, eliminated his supposed imposter, but he immediately got eliminated by Trick Williams, who then got eliminated by Cody. Entering at number 14 was Will Powerhouse Hobbs from All Elite Wrestling. He was initially introduced by such name before he transitioned over to his new name, Royce Keys. A lot of people were questioning and a little confused by the change in name, and honestly, I was too. And it was like a weird name, and I honestly personally prefer Powerhouse Hobbs because it sounds more badass. But I understand. I do understand it though. Just how I understood Mariah May's change to Blake Monroe. So the inspiration for his new name, Royce Keys, comes from Royce, which is the name of his son, and Keys is the name of his maiden late mother. So that's cool. I'm not gonna bash on it. I mean if that's the ring name he wants, I have no issue with it. I mean, I just I just kind of like Powerhouse Hobbs better, but if that's the name he wants, that's cool. And then we had the Vision start to come out: Austin Theory, Bronson Reed, and Logan Paul. They came out at varying points in the middle of the Rumble match, and to the crowd and the IWC's pain and suffering, until we got LA Knight at number 21, and he eliminated Theory and Bronson Reed. And yeah, we also got Brock Lesnar at number 22, and he took everyone to Suplex City. That even included Obafemi. But Obafemi, he was not really all that affected that much. They still had that. He still had that stare down with Brock. They had a few back and forths, but Obafemi took his eye off the ball for a bit, trying to eliminate Logan Paul, and Lesnar eliminated him. And I was just like, damn it. Like who booked that crap? Who booked Obafemi to get eliminated by Brock Lesnar via distraction? Like, I really wanted them to go at it more. Like you hit two big dudes who should be slapping that meat. You have to make them go the distance more. But man, that's a shame. But hey, if they're gonna have a match at WrestleMania or SummerSlam, I wouldn't complain. But speaking of not going the distance, Cody Rhodes and LA Knight surprisingly eliminated Brock Lesnar, just as Jey Uso was taking his sweet ass time to get into the ring at number 24. Like, whose idea was that to have Brock Lesnar get eliminated while Jey Uso is in the crowd yeeting with the Saudi Arabia fans? Like, who was stupid as hell to do that? Like, what is wrong with that crack ass writer's room that Triple Fraud is leading? And why couldn't Brock politic not to do that? But anyway, so just as Jey was trying to run it back with the stupid yeeting, Roman Reigns saved us all when he entered at number 26, and he wanted Jey to run it back, but no, he bitch slapped his cousin, and thankfully saved us all. LA Knight got eliminated on a disaster kick by Cody, but the Saudi fans didn't seem pleased with that, as Randy Orton, the former 2-time Rumble winner, entered at number 29 and also looked to become a 3-time Rumble winner. And Riyadh gave him a very rousing ovation, sang his theme song, as we got to the final entrant, which was the Ring General, Gunther, who had already having retired AJ Styles earlier in the night and was pulling double duty. So we were down to that final entrant, which was Gunther, as 9 people remained, which was less than the Women's Royal Rumble when we got to Tiffany Stratton. So we had 9 people remaining, which included Gunther, and elimination started to begin by that point. Javon Evans happened to be the first guy, as he and Randy Orton did the RKO spot that they messed up a long time ago in NXT when Javon was still there. Then Jacob Fatu later tried to eliminate Cody, but Cody hung on to try to save his life from elimination. But unfortunately, that lasted just as long as I forgot. Just as long as my memory. Because out of nowhere, Drew McIntyre knocked his ass out and eliminated him with a Claymore. So Cody Rhodes' dreams were dashed thanks to an unofficial entrant. And Jacob Fatu, who's also had issues with Drew McIntyre, he soon followed when Roman Reigns took advantage of the distraction to eliminate him, Jacob Fatu. So we saw Jey Uso get eliminated by Roman, Jacob Fatu get eliminated by Roman. Randy Orton also got eliminated by Roman. And so now we were down to the final 2. Roman Reigns and the Ring General, Gunther. So it was a kind of tense back and forth affair. And despite Gunther's best attempts to wear him down with sleeper hold, to wear him down so he can throw him over the top rope, Roman overcame all that with one last spear to throw him out of the ring. And there was no one hiding around this time. No hiding Rusev. No hiding Big Shows or Canes. Roman Reigns is going to his second WrestleMania with the second career Royal Rumble match in his bag. And man, let me talk about the match first, because just like with the women's Royal Rumble, the men's Royal Rumble, it had a pretty disappointing flow, other than the teases between Brock and Omofemi, the return of LA Knight. I forgot LA Knight. He had been out for what, a month or two? Yeah, he had been out for like a month or two because he got taken out by the Vision on a Raw or something. I don't know. Like, the Vision like sucks as a faction since Seth got hurt, or no, like even when Seth was there. But yeah, and then you had the advancement of the Cody and Drew, and maybe Jacob Fatu is also in there. That story that's going on. But otherwise, surprisingly, unlike with the women's Royal Rumble, there was just not a lot of things going on in this one. Like, there's so little like story advancement, like very little surprises in this one. Like, more than half of the field was like people from AAA. They only have like one or two people from NXT. And then none of them was Joe Hendry, which honestly I didn't really expect, to be honest with you, in this one. Again, it goes back to the point where, like, you know, maybe it was a little hard. Maybe it was hard to bring these people in. No, I didn't even touch on that at all. But I really would have thought, though, that someone like Dominic Mysterio would have returned also, and Finn Balor would have taken his spot, because, you know, there's that thing they pointed out on Monday where the Royal Rumble was full, or vice versa, where Finn would have taken his spot and Dominic would have attacked him and taken it, or Sami Zayn would have also pulled double duty with Gunther. But no, none of that happened. And now going back to the Royal Rumble winner in Roman Reigns, I'm happy with this result, but I'm also surprised that he actually won this match, given that Gunther, you know, he's having this red hot momentum. He had been on a career killing roll by retiring Goldberg, John Cena, AJ Styles. So I thought that Triple H was going to go all in, having Gunther win the Royal Rumble and get back on track to a world title at WrestleMania after losing it in humiliating fashion in Las Vegas last year. But no, they're still having him, you know, slowly work his way back to that path. And as it comes to Roman, I think this was the right call. Although I'm not sure if it was a Triple H call. The plot thickens. Nonetheless, though, unlike what happened in Philadelphia 11 years ago, which ironically is where Raw is at this coming Monday, he was well received this time around for the Rumble win. And that's why I say, for the second time in his career, he is going to a WrestleMania with a Rumble win in his bag. And this time around, the fans love him for it. The fans love it for him, in contrast to Philadelphia all those years ago. And I love this for him. Forget what all the fans in the IWC are saying. And I can never be more proud for my tribal chief. So, yeah. Roman Reigns going to headline his, how many WrestleManias has he headlined? Like 10 or 11 WrestleManias by this point. And as far as the champion he's going to choose, I imagine it's going to be CM Punk, because I think Cody is probably going to win the Elimination Chamber Pro Bowl and go on to face Drew McIntyre and possibly Jacob Fatu. So we'll see. But I imagine that Roman Reigns is going to face CM Punk if he's World Heavyweight Champion by that point. As for Gunther, I imagine he's on another career-killing collision course with somebody that is ready to retire. Brock Lesnar, maybe, because that's a dream match waiting to happen. But when to end things with the Royal Rumble review, I did want to add, I also found the Rumble win for Roman Reigns. I also found it surprising, given his critical comments on the Pat McAfee show a day earlier. He was very critical of the creative and rightfully so, but a little wrong at the same time, about not building stars of tomorrow for the WWE. Again, he isn't wrong, because while this was a redeeming Royal Rumble win because of what happened 11 years ago, this also just shows how much Triple H sucks at building towards the future. Now, sure, the talent that he is building up, they can't hold up their end of the bargain, but at the same time, Triple H is not very helpful, and neither is the likes of Michael Hayes and Road Dogg. They're not helping either. So the booking is not helping the stars that they're pushing either. So it's like this never ending. It's like these two paths are not like on an agreement. It's like Roman said. Triple H had 2 years post WrestleMania 40 where he lost the title to build new stars and not just build them up, but build them up to be larger than life with interesting stories, interesting characters, interesting gimmicks, and give them consistent follow through. Not just go out there and wrestle, be like the best in the world. I'm the best wrestler. I am the best. I respect you. I love you. I'm gonna fuck you in the ass after a match. No, we need those larger than life personalities. We need something like the bloodline that we had from 2021 to 2024. I mean, obviously that can't be recreated anymore, but you get what I'm saying. There's no interesting stories or characters. The only close instance of that was the two stories we had in post WrestleMania: CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre, and the summer of Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, and Dominic Mysterio. That's it. That's all we had, and nothing else. Remember how Vince McMahon talked about the proverbial quote unquote brass ring, and how people need to grab it to make a name for themselves? Now, ex-WWE people said there's no such thing as that. Well, here we are with Triple H. And it seems like there is no proverbial brass ring. And when it comes to, trying to make a name for yourself, and yeah, it seems like Roman Reigns has another valid point in that, because no young stars are being made under Triple H, and Triple H is not doing his part. So, closing thoughts on the Royal Rumble. For as much shit as I just gave Triple H and his creative for both the stuff prior and for the stuff that's probably going to come later on, he at least made the correct choices in making Roman Reigns and Liv Morgan the Royal Rumble winners this year. Because sometimes the obvious choices are the best choices. However, getting to those paths in the Royal Rumble matches, there's just too many lowlights and highlights. They were a chore to get through. Now, the thing is now, the follow-up for both Liv and Roman, it's going to be very important for the next 2 months. And 2 months, especially, the gap between now and WrestleMania, and the fact that neither of them have chosen the champion that they wanted, and the point with how the Elimination Chamber is now technically a Pro Bowl, where there's still, it's like a number one contenders thing. Triple H is gonna want to rush Liv and Roman to make a decision, but I'd say Liv and Roman probably want to should politic to stretching that thing out for teases, but yeah, the follow-up again is going to be very important for the next 2 months, and you just gotta pray, including myself, that Triple H and his fuck ass writing team doesn't fuck it up. But again, both Rumble matches had very little surprises, but to be honest, I kind of expected this, given that either WWE couldn't get a hold of some surprise people because either they were busy, they already scheduled for stuff, they either also didn't want to pay them, or they were going to have real trouble getting it leaked out because, well, look at the time they were at, like it was a way different time zone, and They're like, well, they couldn't really keep a secret other than Powerhouse Hobbs. But I don't know. The other two matches, and also LA Knight, I guess. And then the other matches that were sandwiched in between, they were pretty meh too. But I was surprised that AJ Styles lost his career-threatening match and is retiring, like for real, this soon. That was a bummer. So overall, the 2026 Royal Rumble honestly was a royal slumber after the women's Royal Rumble match, and until we found out that Roman Reigns was winning the men's Royal Rumble. But again, the whole show itself was a slumber. It was a chore. But hey, in the end, I got the Royal Rumble winners. I got, so I can't really complain about it. I can't really complain about the winners this year. I finally got a good set of Royal Rumble winners: Liv Morgan and Roman Reigns. That's a good set. That is a good set, despite how poorly paced and poorly flowed their Royal Rumble matches were. Can't complain about that. Can't complain about it one bit. So let's have a conversation about it on the YouTube comments, or send me a DM on my socials at Very Cold Lasagna if you're listening to this on audio, about the 2026 Royal Rumble pay-per-view, and let me know if you liked or disliked Liv Morgan and Roman Reigns winning the Royal Rumble, and let me know your thoughts about your standout Royal Rumble performances from either match, and your thoughts on the other two matches that happened on this pay-per-view. So let's have a conversation about it as we are on the road to WrestleMania 42. And I just hope that it'll be somewhat interesting with no Cena, no Rock, and no other big time stars for Triple H to rely on. But we'll see how things play out. But anyway, that's going to do it for this episode of the Very Cold Lasagna Podcast. I have been your host, Dylan Lasagna, once again bringing you all the filthy casual takes on the world of sports and another wrestling related thing. So yeah, at least it's kind of good to talk about some wrestling. But yeah, I'm putting a bow on episode 331. And until the next one, keep the lasagna very cold in the fridge with your filthy casual takes on the world of sports. And until I see you, when I see you in the next one, peace out.